Tomorrow's Super Bowl is a tale of two cities, as Lonnie mentioned, Boston and New York. I've had the privilege of living in both places, but I've never been a fan of either the Patriots or the Giants. I have met a lot of folks who are diehards. So to get a feel for what this rivalry is really like, we took a unique approach, talking to fans on enemy territory. The rivalry runs deeper than sports and goes back before the Babe. But in the last decade, it's been more intense than ever. Which means it's been especially interesting, exciting, at times heartbreaking. If you're a New York fan in New England.
There is nothing higher as far as the anticipation levels that I'm feeling.
Or a New England fan in New York.
I think I became even a bigger Boston fan by living here, because you're amongst the enemy, so to speak.
New York native John Morgan boldly displays his team's colors directly outside his Boston doorstep. Tell me about the flag that flies outside your home. Every day?
Yes, during the football season it does.
You are not shy in your fandom.
No, I wouldn't say I was, yeah. I agree with that.
In New York, Patriots fan Marzi Alavi just got engaged to fellow New Englander Brian Doust. Do you guys feel like you need vengeance after what happened in 08?
I think there's a little bit of that.
What happened in 08 was improbable. A late Giants victory over an undefeated Patriots team. The latest chapter in this epic sports saga.
The Boston-New York rivalry is sort of a typical underdog-overdog rivalry. Boston always has had that wonderful chip on its shoulder. New York's bigger, it's more important, more stuff happens there, except in most sports areas. New York might be the greatest city overall for everything. We're the greatest sports town. It's hard to argue they haven't proven that in the last decade, with 7 major championships for Boston teams, including a curse-busting comeback in 2004.
I don't think there's been a better time to live in New York and be a Boston fan.
Now add this Super Bowl to the mix, as fans of all ages talk trash. How difficult will it be to come back here if the Giants lose?
I don't think about things like that. I'm going out to Indianapolis with only Giant gear, and I will wear that Giant gear home.
Can you describe how significant the rubbing in will be if your team is victorious?
It's going to be so good.
Eric Mangini has experienced the Boston-New York rivalry firsthand. He won 3 Super Bowl rings as an assistant coach for New England before becoming head coach of the New York Jets. Coach, good to see you.
Good to be here.
What is it like being in the middle of this rivalry?
Well, the rivalry is intense, and my experience, there was a lot of fuel added to the fire because of how much crossover there was between coaches and players. When I first got to New York with the Jets, Bill Parcells was coming off a Super Bowl in New England. We get there, Curtis Martin comes in from New England, spend 3 years there, have a great experience, go to New England with Bill Belichick, and I remember that first game coming back to the Meadowlands. We ended up losing with the Patriots, but just how tough it was, one, to see those uniforms, the Jets uniforms, and know the experiences we had, and then to lose that game as well.
I mean, Parcells, another guy you mentioned who's been in both cities. It does seem like people cross back and forth, at least the players on the field and some of the coaches. What's Belichick going through right now?
What's he going through in terms of the game planning?
Yeah.
He's one of the most detailed, thorough, hard-working guys that I've ever been around, and he knows everything that's happening with his team. And somehow he knows everything that's happening with the opponent. And I knew when I went to New York to take over as head coach, I was going to have that same broad understanding of what's happening to be able to compete with him.
What matchups intrigue you the most in this game?
To me, it's Victor Cruz. I think
Giants wide receiver.
The Giants wide receiver, and their ability to generate big plays. The Giants' ability to create big plays. They were second in the NFL with plays over 40 yards. And for New England, it's the interior players. It's Wes Welker. It's Rob Gronkowski.
Does he play?
It's Aaron Hernandez.
Gronkowski?
I think he's going to play. I don't know how effective he'll be. But whether or not the Giants can control that interior part of New England's offense.
Brian, in the piece there, made an interesting point. Does it seem like the shoe is on the other foot just a little bit this year, and the Patriots were enormous favorites 4 years ago? I realize the line actually has the Patriots winning this game, but it seems like a lot of people are picking the Giants.
It's interesting because the Giants have become this trendy pick, probably over the last week and a half, especially in the latter part of this week. You know, and I think that it is a little bit of a shoe on the other foot, although both teams are trying to play the underdog role.
I need your pick.
My pick, I'm going to say New England 34, Giants 31, and I know it's unpopular here, but usually I'm wrong picking these games, so that's the good news.
Eric Mangini says New England 34, Giants 31. We appreciate you coming in. You're getting a number of boos here from the studio.
You want me picking New England, trust me with my record.